My next guest is the queen of sales success mindset. She is a multi-talented leader in the field of sales, mindset, motivation, and strategies. She's host of Heart Sales podcast and the founder of Heart Sales Academy. She shows heart-centered, impact-driven entrepreneurs how to sell with ease, grace, confidence, and authenticity. So welcome to Scale Your Sales podcast, Christine Schlonski.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and I can't wait. I know you have always great questions and I'm really looking forward having a wonderful conversation.
Well, we've kind of kept seeing each other online, didn't we? And we kept popping
Yes.
up on various panels and things. So I was thinking, I need to get you on and find out more about you. So first of all, we're all living through challenging times. You're in Germany. I mean, we've both gone back into lockdown for the second time. It'd be interesting to find out how this has impacted your business, how you've had to adapt, and also perhaps for your customers as well. What have been the challenges besides just we're all going virtual? What have been the things that you probably didn't anticipate?
Yeah, I think like really no matter what happens, staying positive and focused is so important, because if you're all over the place and if you're worried all the time for things that you can't influence, then it's not going to help you as a person and it's not going to help your business. So I feel like the first month I have supported my clients more than ever in maintaining a great attitude and really knowing they are the leaders in their fields. And even though as leaders, sometimes we don't know what's going to happen next, but a leader shows up for their tribe and helps them to focus, to think positive, to understand what they can change and what they can't, so they don't go into fear or run around like headless chickens, and they focus on what they can do in that moment. And I feel like, you know, having that reminder for myself by coaching my clients was really important to keep the focus and the positive attitude.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. So tell me more about heart-centered sales or heart sales.
Yes, I just love this topic because I was in sales for such a long time, you know, in corporate sales, cold calling, picking up the phone, calling people you'd never heard the name before, and, you know, trying to sell a high ticket event. And I discovered that the moment where I really connected my head with my heart, sales changed. I had the opportunity to relax more into the sale. And we all know sales is a numbers game. And if we are in corporate, there's a lot of pressure, right? The higher you raise up in an organization with sales, the more pressure you probably have. And just connecting my head and my heart just changed everything. It changed the way I was able to lead the sales teams I built. It changed the conversations with the clients. And at the end of the day, it changed my paycheck as well, which is very important when you are in corporate and you kind of depend on the money coming in. So if you are in sales and you're thinking like, I have so much pressure, I need to call so many people and I need to do my little pitch. And at the end of the day, I just have to ask. And the more people I call, the more money I will make. Why don't you just take a moment for yourself, take a deep breath and think about it? How would you love to have a sales conversation when you can decide, when you can bring in what's important to you, when you can bring your heart to the table as well as your head? How would that change for you and the conversation that you would be having, right? So just by doing that, by being aware and by setting an intention that every client you're calling from now on, or potential client, you come from that place of love first and you care first, I can promise you that midterm and long term, you will sell even more when you really go into relationship building and caring for who you call, even though you might not know them yet.
So give me an example, if we can delve a bit deeper as to the intention that you set, or how you would want the conversation to go. Do you replay it in your head, or is it a feeling because it's in your heart? Give me a bit more information about how that works.
Yeah, such a great question, Janice. Thank you. Yeah, so what I started doing, and it felt so strange at the beginning. I really was like, oh, this is a lot of woo-woo stuff. I don't know. I'm a serious person. I'm a successful salesperson. So let's just, keep picking up the phone and doing whatever I have to do to get the success. But when I really stopped and I felt into the call, and I imagined that person. So I had, they have a name and a number, you just calling, and imagining that person, that is another human being. It's not just your next commission, right? There is another human being, and you connect. And I literally said in my head, I love you. And it felt so weird at the beginning. I was like, what am I doing here? But being open and really going deep in the emotion, feeling that I'm already connected with the person. And if they need what I have to offer, and I would not offer it if it wasn't a fit, I made that clear to myself first. And then I really approached it from the heart. And whenever I picked up the phone, I was like, I love you, right? We're connected. I know if I have what you need, you will say yes to my offer at some point. And I just, holding that space for the conversation. And I've never seen anybody teaching that in corporate sales, because we are so conditioned to just pick up the phone and do your pitch and ask for the money. And if they don't want, well, you call the next person. But when you go deep into that feeling, when you, at the end of the day, would love to look into the mirror and just know you had a great day, you made a new friend, you've gotten a new customer that you really deeply care for and that you have delivered value to, it changes everything. And it was so weird at the beginning, but the more I practiced, the easier it became. The better were my conversations, the more authentic I became, because I stopped worrying about myself. I stopped worrying about how they perceive the call, what they might be thinking about me, if I did show up in a professional way, right? If I was good enough to have the conversation with this successful person. I pushed all that worry aside, and I just connected from that place of love, understanding, and compassion, being open to just have a conversation. And if it's a fit, obviously make an invitation. And it just changed, giving myself permission to be authentic and to just speak what was on my mind. And that was something I had to train myself to practice, because it felt so unnatural, as I had never done it before. And I didn't know what this experiment is going to bring, but it was immensely successful. And I enjoyed sales conversations so much more. I had so much more fun. I was able to go so much deeper with clients, really connecting, not just about the product, but really finding out what are their worries, how do they feel, what's important to them. And that gave me a different position when they had different offers for more or less the same product. They would always choose my offer over other offers because I was connected in a different way.
So you were doing this when you were working in corporate sales. You practicing this in corporate sales, and what was the results? What was the difference?
Well, the difference was that I felt so much better in having these conversations, that I could totally relax and let go of the worries, like, is the person going to book? Are they not going to book? Do I meet my targets? Will I not meet my targets? Like all this chatter in your mind, it just deeply relaxed me. And I felt so much more grounded. And because I felt so much more grounded, I was so much more confident. And I was able to say when I didn't like something, I just said that. I said, well, I feel like, and then whatever I wanted to address, I addressed it. And people sometimes were impressed because they would not have thought that a person calling to sell something would mention something they didn't like or that didn't feel authentic. And obviously I didn't say, well, I feel like you're lying. But, when something was off in the conversation, which is often it is, because, they're not going to tell you the budget they have. They're not going to tell you the real intentions. You have to earn that trust. So when I started to be totally open with my emotional world and what I thought and how I felt, I gave them the permission to do the same. So when it was off and I knew, well, they say they don't have budget, but they do. They just, I'm just not at the point where my product is more important than the other things they want to do. I just took them on that journey and said, well, okay, I totally understand. You're saying, or I'm hearing you do not have budget available for this right now. And what if? And then you take them on that success journey. And when you keep steady and you believe in the product you have to offer, and you keep going and you hear the no, but you still keep going, then at some point, oftentimes people just open up because they feel that you are authentic. They feel that you are true, that your product has something they probably want. And they start believing what you say, because in sales, and I feel especially in the corporate world, there's so many lies. So many people say something like they have this product and it delivers this and then it doesn't. And, when people don't approach it from that heart-centered space, they just take the money and run. And that's how everyone listening has gotten burned at some point. We all have made a sales experience that wasn't good. And if we are not trained professional salespeople, we might even avoid sales, right? So many of my clients going into entrepreneurship, having something amazing to offer, but when it comes to the point of selling, they block themselves because they don't want to be that sleazy, slimy salesperson that they encountered at some point in their life, or that person that took their money and didn't deliver. So when you are different in how you show up, you get noticed. And when you care, people will feel that you care and it's true. Right? I still have contact to some of the people that were my clients years ago because we established that wonderful relationship. So I think at the end of the day, you will enjoy your sales position so much more when you truly have conversations that matter, when you have clients that have the opportunity to come back or send their business partners or their friends to you and what you have to offer. It just makes your life so much easier because you don't need to pretend that you are someone that you are not. Because you feel like I felt I had to be professional, and that was my own definition of what I thought a professional salesperson had to be. And when I was able to kind of drop that and identify it as not being true, these things really, really changed. And it was so much more fun. And I made a lot of more money at the end of the day because people could identify, because people could connect, and they felt I cared. And when I said I'm going to call back in 2 weeks, I called back in 2 weeks.
I think it's really interesting what you say about being really connected to yourself and being authentic, and when you kind of drop the, what a salesperson is, and what a salesperson is perceived to be is a man, often a white man. And so let's talk a little bit about diversity, because a lot of women go into sales and think they need to be this hunter, you know, and crushing and all of that. And and that's the thing, that when you were talking about entrepreneurs not wanting to be that type of sales person, we kind of tend to either feel we need to you know, kind of guard ourselves against it, or we become it. But we're not ourselves. So what's your experience of diversity, you know, and how in sales this image of the kind of hunter salesperson, and how that's kind of impacted, and whether it's changed?
Yeah, I totally feel it's changing right now. So over the past couple years, maybe a little bit longer, and I also feel that especially for women, we do not want to be the next Wolf of Wall Street or Glengarry, Glen Ross, or, you know, like boiler room people that all those sales movies, if you're in sales, you probably watch them, right? I watched them because all the guys around me were like, oh, such a great movie. And I was like, okay. So I don't know about you, but I could not really connect. I was fascinated of the, you know, the ways how you can make money fast. But for me, there was no substance. It was just the surface.
To be honest
And
with you, do you know what? I was a little bit repulsed, really,
yeah,
by a lot of
yeah.
that, what I see. Yeah.
Oh, yes, because, and that's what we want to avoid as, you know, good people, so to speak. You want to be true to yourself. If you can't look in the mirror anymore, you do have a big problem. And life is not fulfilling. Like, obviously, money is great. Money is a vehicle to freedom, to choice. So that I have nothing against money. But if it's just money, I feel it's empty. Money buys us experiences. Money helps us to give in a different way than we could do without. So money is obviously great, but the way you get to it, I feel, is even more important. And so those movies, that's what we see. And so I thought for a very long time, entering especially the corporate world, like I had to be like a certain salesperson. And what happened for me is, you know, I tried to be like the successful male person.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm not male. Hello. Right? So, and once I started to embrace, to be more authentic and to embrace who I was and really connect and do this woo-woo, like I love you stuff, thinking it, not saying, obviously, things changed so rapidly. And I could just feel it. I could see it. I could sense it. And it was so much more fun. And now looking back and, you know, coaching so many people to become successful entrepreneurs and to get their products and offers right and to have great conversations, I could see that I had to reclaim my femininity back. Like I was so centered to be like the guys, and you will never be a guy if you are a woman. Right? And if you have a different skin color, you will never be the other skin color. It's just not possible. You can maybe dye your hair if you don't like your hair color, but that's it, right? You don't have that opportunity. So I feel like embracing who you are and understanding that you are perfect the way you are and you're beautiful. And bringing that to the table, that inner knowing, that trust that you are just fine like you are. There will always be people that don't like you. That's their reality, unfortunately. And that's true for everyone. You could be a top model and there are people that don't like you, right? And you could live on the streets and, you know, have something that society doesn't call a successful life. And there will be people who love you. So don't waste your time in running around and trying to get approval. The only person you need approval from is yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Christine, who is your hero or shero?
Well, one of my superheroes, sales heroes, is Bob Burg.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with Bob Burg, read The Go-Giver by Bob Burg and John David Mann. And this really will transform the way you see life in general, but definitely sales.
So what is it about Bob that is your hero?
Yeah, I think
Why?
when I read the book, The Go-Giver, I felt by just reading the book, it gave me permission to be even more authentic and to really, before reading the book, if a client didn't want to work with the company or with me in that particular case, because it wasn't a really good fit, I would never try to help them in different ways, right? I would never say, well, you might want to be connected with this person, or you might want to check out this resource, or whatever it was. But reading The Go-Giver, I understood that I don't need to protect the company, so to speak. I just need to nurture the relationship so they can come back at a later time. And so giving myself permission to connect people, to care for them, and to be true, not just in the moment where I feel like, oh, this could be my next client, but in general, was what the book gave me permission, or what the book gave me permission to do. And that was really beautiful to see, because it felt better, it was easier. I was more grounded in who I was, because I felt I wanted to do it, but I didn't see that I have the permission, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Certainly does. I'm sure a lot of readers will want to read the book. Thank you for that. So, how can listeners get hold of you, Christine?
Well, my website, christineschlonski.com, is a good place to start. And if you are interested in success stories, I have a podcast called Hard Sells. And I have interviewed Bob Burg, for example, or other amazing entrepreneurs who really talk about how they felt when they started selling, what has changed, what are their success secrets, to connect with their audience, with their clients, and to just have more fun selling. So yeah, that would be a great place to start.
Excellent. Well, I'll put all of that in the show notes. So thank you for
Awesome.
being a guest on Scale Your Sales podcast, Christine. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I love the work you do. So important.
Thank you.